some viewers also sent questions about IRCC's inventories and backlogs because they have pending applications. Now, there is a page on the IRCC website for this where it all breaks down the figures. Now, it also mentions there that IRCC is doing something or taking measures to reduce the backlogs. Can you mention some of these measures that IRCC is doing?
Yeah, and that page is very consulted by people. It does show the different categories that we measure in terms of backlogs and delays. You know well that coming out of COVID, there was a really significant delay as things were getting back up and running. A lot of stuff being done by hand, which people couldn't do from home. In that period, the Auditor General took a look at those timelines and has noticed that those timelines have gotten better. They're not perfect, and in the last year, we've gotten even better. Really shortened some of those timelines, and I think that's important. We keep striving for excellence within IRCC. We're not there yet, but those lag times are closing, and I think so that's quite positive. Obviously, for someone that's waiting, it's frustrating to see their applications sometimes going over the time limit, but the vast majority of them do come under the time limit. And there's plenty of reasons why it sometimes goes over. Sometimes things that aren't within my control, like security screening and others, but sometimes things where we actually can do better. And I think we need to do better. One of those reasons was the fact that IRCC had not really transitioned properly to the 21st century and digitizing, putting things online, making things more automatic. That automation and digitization is ongoing, not complete yet, Chris, but something that I think will make things go faster. One of the challenges we're facing is that Canada has seen unprecedented, whether it's international students or otherwise, has seen unprecedented volume of people wanting to get into Canada's the top destination in the world for a lot of people. I don't blame people for wanting to come here, but it does cause volume challenges. So that we hit our historic levels of people interested in coming to Canada in October or so, and went way over it in October, November, December, just of interest. And so that creates pressure on the system. So we do our best under the circumstances, but I think the recent developments in the last 12 months have been actually quite positive.
And I'm just curious, Mr. Minister, because of all those figures, do they include as well humanitarian entrance to Canada? For example, those who were displaced by the conflict in Afghanistan, the Ukraine, of course, Gaza, and the Sudan?
I think some of the, one of the challenges that it isn't a linear equation necessarily, but some of the humanitarian measures that we have taken as a country, and I don't think Canadians would forgive us if we didn't take them, was to take a large number of people from Ukraine, Afghanistan, and Syria in 2015, if you recall. It did create pressure on the system, I think, and that planning process is one that has had consequences. These deliberate political public policy choices have had the impact on the civil service that works so hard for Canadians. But again, it came at a cost, right? And I think that is something, whether it's backlogs, whether it is slowing down in other triage and processing times. So it isn't entirely linear insofar as that the fact that, if you take in 100,000 people from a conflict, it doesn't necessarily mean that all the other streams that are affected, and different streams have different processing times. A student may take less time, or person that's here temporarily may take less time to process than someone that is intending to be here permanently. But clearly volume does impact the processing and the ability to do things within our stated processing time. So you're right, I think in part, but again, on the other side, I don't think Canadians would have forgiven us if we hadn't made these very important public policy moves to open up our hearts to people that are fleeing war and death.